Well, hello everybody. Cassie and I are back with more post-election astrology, and we've got a couple of charts to look at. And as usual, Cassie's going to do a breakdown of what's happened in the news, and I'm going to give a rundown of the upcoming aspects. But before we do, I'm Louise Edington, Cosmic Owl Astrology. I offer a Spiral Weave membership on Substack where I write every day, or here on YouTube you can join, where I offer various benefits, including once a month, first Thursday, Ask Me Almost Anything call. And I've just sent out the details for that. So if you want to become a YouTube member or join me over on Substack, you can get access to those calls. I also have a private membership community on my website, and I do classes and consultations, though I'm a bit booked up with consultations. Oh, and I should mention, I've just finished writing another book, and I'm self-publishing, and it's going to be out July the 13th, and it's on Dwarf
Oh,
Planets series.
so soon.
I
It's a
know.
great book. People, I've read it. It's really good, very useful. It adds to the conversation.
Cool.
I'm Kathy Biehl. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. My YouTube my YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian. And I have forecasts for every imaginable thing. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Kathy Biehl, where I have also an Ask Me Almost Anything weekly, monthly event and daily snarky, very quick forecasts. Coming up right after this video comes out on June 1st, which is a Sunday, I am giving a talk via Zoom for the Houston Astrological Society on Saturn and Neptune, who's in Aries, who's in control, looking at the historical patterns of things that have happened. And I've got it all. Oh, if you think what I do with the news is something, wait till you see the themes that I have tracked across the centuries to give us some idea of what's going to be heated up by their conjunction. So if you go to my site, empowermentunlimited.net, there is an orange banner really close to the top, and it has a direct link to it. End of commercial. Thank you.
And I've signed up for it. And there is a part two later. When's
In
the
August, the personal,
part?
the personal impact in
Yeah,
August. Yeah.
but that's going to be recorded too. So if you don't live in Houston, you can still sign up for that. Okay, let's dive into the news first of all.
All right, last week we warned that there would be a lot of information coming out, a lot of information ending things, a new phase in communication, and massive, massive clarity. So I once again have 2 pages of notes, and this is not even comprehensive, all right? This is just a smattering of the stuff that has played out, our forecasts lately. And this is partly to acquaint you with or to start you thinking about when you hear us talking about aspects coming up, just stick them in the back of your mind what this might mean, and then start watching the news yourself and going, oh, okay, that is, it's a way to track the story. All right.
And we're not
So
suggesting that you have to sit and watch 24-hour news. Do you just have to look at the headlines and listen to a bit to know what's going on.
it's kind of fun when something happens, you go, oh, I know why that happened. Okay, so there was a vibe of cutting out with Mercury trining Pluto. Bunch of things. There was a purge at the National Security Council. Trump fired a bunch of people. The administration decided to cut all funding to Harvard. A RFK Jr. Cut back on the availability of the COVID vaccine. He also ended funding for Moderna's. Uh, Moderna had a program in process that was going to come up with a bird flu vaccine. He cut that. More. A Missouri court, after voters in Missouri last year adopted a constitutional amendment keeping the right to an abortion until fetus is viable, a Missouri court shut down abortion clinics using some technicalities about how they run their business so effectively disenfranchising the will of the voters. That fits. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, announced that he will restrict visas for foreign officials who make um, who I have to read my own notes here, who I'm so sorry for the break here. He's griping about foreign officials saying things that are negative about tech companies in the U.S. He's kind of vague on what exactly he's going to do to them besides restrict their visas. Oh, here's a good one. SCOTUS overruled precedent without explanation to allow Trump to fire the heads of independent agencies. And one more, the Department of Justice notified the American Bar Association that it would no longer have access to vetting judges, information for vetting judges. So cutting out. Okay, then we have, oh, also pardons. We've had a field day of
Oh,
pardons. I've lost count of how many. There are
oh,
at least there are like 15, 16, 18 pardons that have been issued just in the last couple of days. They are almost all pardoning people for massive financial crimes, uh, like a whole bunch of GOP representatives. That was the most recent batch. They're all Republicans who've been pardoned, and one of them was pardoned after his mother donated $1 million to have a face-to-face with Trump. And suddenly he's off. And then two of them, who were reality TV stars, the Chrisleys, they're getting released. Their daughter has been very, very active in Trump's campaign.
yeah. So it's
Okay, so
pay to
more to
play.
come with that. Right. Right. Okay. So in the Revelations department, it was revealed that Tom Homan, who is called the border czar, was paid 5K by GeoCare, a division of one of the largest companies that's running detention centers. Um, Trump made a statement on Truth Social that pretty much outed that he's working with Russia. His statement about how Putin didn't know how bad things could have gone for him. He was essentially saying he
Mhm.
was advocating for Russia in the peace talks with Ukraine. Nothing seems to be happening from that. Um, Hegseth fired staffers um, after he illegally had them wiretapped.
Oh,
That's going to have something. Kata asked for has made it clear that this transfer of a plane is not a done deal. They want it clarified that we asked for it, that they didn't offer it. They don't want sanctions or ramifications down the line for this. Um, okay, more. Oh, back in the cutting thing, RFK Jr. is barring government scientists from publishing in a medical journal, in medical journals that are not government medical journals, and also a Make America Healthy Again report that his department issued cites case studies that do not exist. All right, now we're going to move into corruption. All right, corruption, a corruption heading. There was a meme coin dinner with the presidential seal being used, so people were paying terrific amount of money for an evening with Trump. His press secretary said, "Oh, it was on his private time." Okay, great. That opens him to criminal charges.
mhm.
And the presidential seal was on premises, which is illegal if it's private. He's now offering a face-to-face if you give him $5 million. It's just so out in the open. The Sun Mercury conjunction, Mercury Sun conjunction, Cazimi, whatever. The clarity is astonishing. No attempt to even hide. Um,
And
let's
that
see.
was yesterday, by the way.
That was
Oh,
yesterday.
no, yeah. Mhm.
Um, Supreme Court has denied Native tribe the right to sue to stop a copper mine in Arizona on its sacred tribal site.
Oh,
That fits in a whole bunch of categories. Um, and one that isn't its own. Texas passed a law requiring the Ten Commandments to be displayed
oh
in
yeah.
public school, and that's going to the governor, and I guarantee you he'll sign it. Okay, I got two more categories. Push back against the administration. Another law firm got the executive order against it shut down.
Hmm.
SCOTUS blocked public school funding for religious charter schools in Oklahoma. NPR is suing the administration. There are two injunctions that have been entered stopping the tariffs. And we're going to talk a little bit about one of these. One of them was from the International Trade Commission Court, a three-judge panel, and it went straight to judgment without any facts. It's called summary judgment, and the reason is on the law, the administration is dead wrong. That was immediately appealed. The striking down of the tariffs has been put on pause for 2 weeks, which is an astrologically significant amount of time. In an additional separate lawsuit, I think involving Mattel, the tariffs were also struck down by that court. On the same day, Judge Chutkan denied a bid to toss a lawsuit that 14 states have brought against Doge and Musk. And all she needed to do was just say, I'm not dismissing the case, but she went out of her way to make a comment about the merits of the case, which is unusual and very unusual, and basically that Trump didn't have any authority whatsoever to do this.
Mhm.
In Arizona, a federal court ruled that Trump does not have the power to deny migrants the right to make asylum claims. And now, okay, moving into election, there is a commission coalition, common coalition report that has come out about all the statistical anomalies in the election, and there was a judgment that Pennsylvania must count undated mail-in ballots. Now, I don't have the numbers as to how much that is going to end up being.
Mm.
Two, we said Kamala was coming back in the news. She made a speech at a real estate conference in Australia and made a lot of talk about empathy, and it was a coded anti-Musk speech. And then there was also a less coded anti-Musk sentiment that was expressed that fits everything about this. It's got salaciousness, it's got people leaving, it's got scandal, it's got who knows what going on. Oh, social media. And that is Musk is formally leaving the government. He is leaving Washington, and Stephen Miller's wife is also leaving. She's been kind of like in charge of watching what Doge is doing. She's leaving. Her social media account on X has a big rocket for the profile picture now. And this kind of came to light because Stephen Miller went on X and did a bunch of subtweeting about Musk. So it's
And
all together. This is Real Housewives of DC, only they're
and
not
and,
housewives.
and Musk also criticised the big beautiful bill, so which
Right. So, snakes eating
kind
their
of
own.
shows a rift there. So
Oh yeah.
he's
So
probably
that's
feeling quite resentful about all the money he paid to get Trump elected and all the other
so
things.
we'll look more at that. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oof.
that's my for the week. Thanks for listening.
Yes. Well, the rundown for the aspects, but before I do, it's a big week. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of fire and air. Leading up to some planetary shifts, change of signs. So there's a lot of change. I'll go through them all, give you the dates. But also we're heading towards a Sagittarius full moon, which is on what day is the full moon? Can't remember.
It's the 11th.
The 11th, yeah, and then two big aspects, and all of this is happening together, working together, really, and of course, the parade is planned for June the 14th for a certain person's birthday. So all this is heading towards that, and all these other things that are happening. But there's Mars aspects, military, but also drive and action. There's a lot of Mercury action and Gemini, which is a lot of communication, words. I think there's a lot more judges going to be saying, no, no, block, 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 and also a lot more people speaking out for things because of these aspects. Do you want to summarize a little bit for you as well?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a heightened fighting for
Mm.
vibe next week. Like, how
Mhm.
could there be more? There will be more. There'll be more noise, there'll be more talk, there'll be more people in the streets. There is a march, a veterans march that's scheduled in the middle of this, and I think the aspects indicate it will be extremely heavily attended. But there, Louise will give you the minor bodies that are being pulled into this, but there's a terrific, oh my God, no, you don't. No, you don't. Bringing things out in the open and doing something about it. And then we kind of shift into what does this mean for me? What's going on
Mm.
with my money, my bank account, what's in my garden, my house, my family. No, you don't. And the political becomes incredibly personal.
Yes. And people are really going to start to realize how their basis of security and safety is being threatened. And add in, we've got Saturn and Neptune both moved into Aries now, which is suddenly icy kind of energy. It's like
Mhm.
clouds are clearing, people are seeing, and more are turning against. I read somewhere that, he caught a lot of the Latino vote, but there's a lot of voter regret happening there. And, I welcome you back. Whoever voted for him because you were gaslit, I welcome you back. So, quick rundown of the aspects. I'm starting on June the 1st. That's the first big day. We did mention it a couple of times in other videos looking ahead, but on that day, Venus moves to 25 Aries and conjuncts table turner, I'm going to say, rather than SHIT, stirrer, Eris, and also Chiron, the wounded healer, but also the key to healing. They're all at the same degree on June the 1st. And, Venus is emerging from that retrograde period which was, caused so much chaos. And that Eris really stands up for outsiders. And Chiron is like, where's the medicine? And Venus is our values, our relationships, our money as well. So that's part of that kind of starting to see how we're being impacted. Do you want to add anything to June the 1st?
Oh, and what I will add is, just notice that as this goes, Venus, all these planets are in a sign they're in Mars's territory. So this isn't, oh, I'm just going to sit here and think about it. This is not philosophical. This is very, very feisty, very boisterous, very, I'm going to do something about this.
And I should mention actually that briefly that the moon's in Leo that day, which is another fire sign. Mars is in Leo, and the moon will aspect Venus, Eris, and Chiron as the moon approaches Mars. So that adds to that feisty fight energy. So it's a big day. And then briefly, June the 3rd, we do have the first quarter moon. So that really kicks in. That's always the crisis in action phase, to quote Dane Rudhyar. That's when the action really starts to build up, and that's in Virgo and Gemini. So the moon is in Virgo, which is do the right thing. I want to, I really, and it's the critic too. And the sun's in Gemini, so information is going to come out, and people are going to go, "This is not doing the right thing," right? So, so we don't need to linger on that one because we've got more big aspects. June the 4th is another pretty big day because later on June the 4th, Mercury in Gemini, and we'll look at this in a certain apparent leader's chart, squares off to Centaur Nessus in Pisces. And Nessus is the buck stops here. It's the revealer of abuses of power. But this happens at the same time as a lovely supportive aspect between Venus, still in Mars sign Aries, to Jupiter in Gemini, more fire and air, more kind of like push of saying, no, we can create a better future in many ways based on what's being revealed. There's a lot more we could say about that, but I think a lot of news that day. Anything to add?
Oh, no,
No.
that's
Yeah, June the 5th, Mercury again. News. Mercury is in its own sign, Gemini, by the way, for all these aspects, which makes Mercury even more powerful. And is communication, news, also perspectives, and Mercury on that day, almost all at the same time, will make an aspect of opportunity to Mars in Leo, so fighting words, But Mercury will then square the lunar nodes, which is always a turning point, really a pivot point. And then the nodes are in Virgo and Pisces. So that's mutable, that's change. So whatever comes out in the news is going to change people's perspectives, and people are going to shout out about it, I think. So anything to add with that one?
There's an opportunity to actually get somewhere with what to act on the information that you get,
Yeah.
to really act on the information that you get.
Mm. I
And
might,
that's in the big picture. Okay. So there's
yeah,
might be something where you actually finally see action occurring. All right. I don't know what it might be, but
I might quickly add that just a bit earlier on that day, the Libra moon in the sign of scales of justice, right, will make an unbroken flow trine aspect to the Gemini sun. So more court rulings, no doubt.
yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, I would say I think you're right.
Yeah. June the 6th, Venus will finally leave Aries. You know, some people, yeah, most people know I work with the Venus retrograde. There's some schools of thought that she's kind of involved in that retrograde journey for the whole sign that she went retrograde in. Well, she's leaving Aries after a very long period and moving into her home sign, Taurus, her most earthly sign. And that's a sign about rootedness, values, core values, money, the material world. People's attention is really going to turn to that. And on that same day, Mercury, again, still in its own sign, Gemini, will make an opportunity aspect to table turner Eris in Mars sign, fighting for the outsiders. Anything to add for that one?
I'm just thinking of the day that the Affordable Care Act was about to get decimated and people flooded the Capitol and just took it over. I think there could be that level of response again to the personal impact that this budget bill is threatening.
Yeah,
So just
probably.
watch.
Yep, June the 7th. There's no major aspects on that day. June the 8th is another kind of fight day, if you like, or justice day and truth day. So we have first Mars opposes Eris, Pallas Athena, sorry. So Mars, military, but also fighting for will, drive, opposes justice warrior, Pallas Athena asteroid in Aquarius, in the sign of the people. Leo, kind of the king, uh, Aquarius, the people. You know, people are going to start really shouting for justice because at the same time, almost, there's very little time between that aspect and the next one, which is Mercury, at the very last anaretic, liminal, tense degree of Gemini, of its own sign, will conjunct Jupiter. And so that is big news, big speeches, big ideas, big, marches, signs, whatever. I think, anything to add to that one?
That I think that will increase the number of people in the streets, the amount of
Mm.
noise that is made. I joked in my podcast for next week that the monitor really will go up to 11,
Mm.
like Spinal
Really?
Tap wanted. Like, yeah, Nigel Tufnell's going to get his monitor going up to 11.
More court cases, more, yeah, all these things. Yeah.
Yeah, and just as you think it couldn't possibly get noisier, the news cycle couldn't possibly be more hectic or crazy, it will,
Oh,
but it's productively so.
yeah. But right after those aspects, on the same day, June the 8th, later, Mercury slips out of its own sign into the sign of Cancer. And I'll give you the date in a minute, but Jupiter is going to follow as well. And Cancer is the home, the family, basis of security. It's your emotions, your feelings. If you think about the sign of Cancer, it's the crab, it's pull the shell down, the pincers in, get self-protective. People are really going to go, how is this affecting me as
Hey,
and my family, as Kathy already mentioned. So But you'll feel that really, that's a big shift, Mercury leaving its own sign, especially because Jupiter's about to follow, because Jupiter expands everything.
So emotional appeals are going to start to really color the communication flow. And as Mercury and later Jupiter make these moves, they're doing it in a way that's really compatible with Venus having just moved into Taurus. It's like we're watering, we have the opportunity to water the ground, to to water our garden, I guess is a way to put it metaphorically.
Yeah, because if you think about the energies, Mercury and Jupiter are both moving into a water sign, and Venus is in an earth sign, it's earthly sign. So it's all everything emotional, earthly, all the feelings and the senses are going to be involved. Interesting shift all happening together. June the 9th, another big day. Mars in Leo, still in Leo, will make an unbroken flow aspect to the table turner, the rattler Eris, and still in Mars sign. So, that's more fighting for the outsiders, fighting to turn the tables and shake things up. Um, and Mercury just moved into Cancer on that day, will square off to Saturn, which has just moved into Aries. They're cardinal signs. That's initiating, that's starting something, that's pushing to change things, using your voice, but very firmly, I think, right? And at the same time as that, the moon, which I haven't mentioned much, opposes Uranus. So that's revolutionary voices in many ways. Was there any? Oh, there was more on June the
There's a
9th.
lot. June 9 is
It's
one
a
of the big
huge
days
day.
of the month.
Yes, it's a huge day. So we'll kind of sum it up in a minute. Venus, now in her own sign, Taurus, will square off to Pluto. And as you'll find out if you read my new book when it's out, Venus and Pluto are of similar energies. They are both to do with desire, earthly desire, and soul desire. But it's like, what do we really want? What do we really want? And what change and transformation can we bring with this square to create what we want? And Pluto's retrograde in Aquarius, so that's the sign of the people, humanitarian, and Pluto does tend to dig up secrets and things, so, or hidden things, shall we say. So more things hidden and coming to light, and people going, not doing that. And then Jupiter moves into Cancer, following Mercury into Cancer, right as Mercury, newly in Cancer, squares off to Neptune, which has recently moved into Aries. So more change, but more speaking out. And more speaking out, I read it as almost like this fighting for what our intuition and spirit really wants, rather than, we've got the focus on the material for sure, but this is bringing in that kind of spiritual warrior energy of how we're all connected from what we're seeing, the clarity we're getting. So let Kathy, this
Well, I
is a big day.
mark this day on your calendar, folks,
Mm.
because this is also a formula for a lot of attacks on the administration, a lot of attacks on the leader. Their Venus and Pluto both rule money.
Mhm.
So who knows what will be dredged up. And there's also something about women and sex. There are any number of things that could happen here. The P. Diddy's case could really pull somebody into it that many of us think has to be in the middle of it. Um,
Or we
I
might find out more about this incident with Musk and things. We'll talk more about
oh
that when we look at
oh
charts.
right. So there's probably going to be something involving sex, something involving women, something involving money, and going at the administration and trying to, because Jupiter is moving into the country's home sign,
Mhm.
Cancer, of what do we have to do to protect our country, and a renewed sense of who are we? This is not who we are. So just know that really pivotal, major attacks, revelations, developments around the 9th, maybe a day or two before,
Mhm.
because sometimes a square builds, and then when it's exact, it's like, phew. So just know, big day. I can't
And
say.
of
of
course,
time.
it's all happening under a full moon that happens early, just about a day and a half later after all these aspects. So we all know full moons are usually heightened energy, emergency rooms fill up more and things like that. So this is under really the light of the full moon. So woo, watch for that. And then we get to the full moon on June the 11th. Not going to talk loads about that because Cassie and I both do videos about the full moon itself, but it's a big full moon because, in essence, it is square the moon's nodes, which makes a mutable grand cross of change and shifting, but also is quite tense. But it's also square to Centaur Nessus, which is the buck stops here, the revealer of abuses of power. So,
May I remind you that we said that there was a ruling, a judgment about the tariffs that had a 2-week pause. It's going to get resolved during this. I don't think it's going to get resolved with, oh, we're going to rewrite the law. We'll let him do this.
mm,
And I suspect that other appeals will go up at that time saying the same thing
mm,
because this full moon also affects him, and it has the impact of pulling him in multiple directions and kind of keeping it hard for him to go completely in any one way. Things keep changing this way, that way, almost like being drawn and quartered, maybe. Almost like the hanged man in the tarot, where you're up there and there really isn't anything you can do until the circumstances pass.
and I'm cringing when Kathy says this because it's the full moon is right on my sun. But anyway,
Yeah, it's not you've
no,
lived
I'm
differently. You've
I'm
lived
yeah, I
differently.
live differently exactly. So but I just want to mention something else about it being square the nodes because, right after the full moon, the moon will exactly square the nodes. Then the sun will square the nodes. And there's a whole Naomi, well, I can't remember her name. There's another astrologer who calls that the moon wobble. It's halfway between eclipses as well. So that's like always a big turning point. And it's called the moon wobble because things really literally wobble at that period. And, it's the kind of thing where things can fall out of the sky and, major events. Just saying. So, finishing up pretty much on June the 15th, we won't be able to look at all these aspects on the charts we're looking at because things are just heating up so much. But on June the 15th, it's another day to mark on your calendars. June the 14th is when the parade is planned on that person's birthday. So these aspects will be building. But Mars will square Uranus at 2854 Leo Aquarius. Leo is that person's ascendant. But this square harks back to July of 2024, which in that month, I'm just giving an overview here, was when there was the assassination attempt, apparently, in Butler, Pennsylvania, and when Biden withdrew and Harris took over. It was also the month of the January the 6th case and Supreme Court ruling in his favor. So something is coming back about all of that, in my opinion. But also on the same day, we have another big square. Jupiter just moved into Cancer, if you remember, squares off to Saturn in Aries, which has just moved into Aries. And that's another big square, and that's in cardinal signs, which is push for change. Both planets have just changed signs, and that cycle began in December of 2020 when a certain person was last president. And, there was all the COVID stuff going on with COVID vaccines and things like that. So, what's going to come up from all of those?
There were also meetings, war room meetings, and pushes and planning for destabilizing the next administration and trying to take it over. So,
Mhm.
um, just watch all of this. All these aspects add up to an awful lot of people getting fed up and saying, nope, I'm not just going to scream about it. We're going to do something about it. And there are many things that could be it.
And I think more stuff being revealed to, as if, it's like every day, like more corruption, more corruption, more.
It's so
Uh,
on the surface now. At least there's that.
yes, yeah, we can see it, but there's more every day. And I have a weird feeling about Musk leaving the administration, but we'll leave that for now. So anyway, we'll go to this a couple of charts. We'll try and get through them quickly because there's a lot going on. But Stephen Miller, who's well, apparently being cooked, so to speak. You can Google about it on if you look on Threads and places or BlueSky, there's lots of stuff going on about it. Just search, Stephen Miller and Elon Musk, and Katie is his wife. So how do we want to start with this energies? Well,
Well,
I could
go
put
on.
the transits round his chart. Shall I do that first?
Sure. I
Mhm.
like to point out that he's got Pluto at 2 degrees Scorpio, and transiting Pluto in his house of communications is moving into an exact square to that. So this is the point in life everybody goes through. Pluto
Yeah.
square Pluto, but there's something that is really, really challenging that he can't just brush under the carpet going on with this. I have a lot more, but I'll let you talk
Well,
about it.
yeah, Pluto squares are powerful, and because Pluto doesn't have a circular orbit, people have it at different ages. But my own involved literal birth, marriage, and death in the same year. So that's very Pluto. Major transformation, major changes. Oh, but also Saturn and Neptune have just moved into Aries, and their square here's Neptune in Saturn ruled Capricorn in his second house, which is his self-esteem, how he earns his money, his values, all that kind of thing. And this kind of it's like everything is kind of collapsing in my opinion, or dissolving. Having those two squares together is kind of just really painful actually for him almost. It's like, and this is in the house of love affairs, by the way. So
Well, also, another thing that's going on with that is that the Saturn and Neptune are in an adjustment aspect with his Pluto, and they're also in an adjustment aspect with his Sun. So this is called a finger of God or a
we
yod,
draw that
like
on.
from his public life. The sun up there in his public life, and whatever he's been doing behind the scenes with that Pluto, it's all up here to, hmm,
Mm.
something, and it could involve taking a risk with Saturn and Neptune bringing something to light about having taken a risk. I invite you to read every salacious thread on Reddit and on Threads about this. There's some indication that he encouraged his wife to kind of watch over Musk for Doge. So we don't know what that actually entailed, although there are. Well, let's leave it at that. So there's
Can I
something.
mention one other while you're
Oh,
on that?
please.
Ask that finger of
Oh,
fate. So his natally his Pluto squares his series needs met and unmet, or how we've been nurtured. But this is also pointing at this, and a square to that is called a Thor's hammer, and it often smites things, and it looks apparently, allegedly, like his marriage may have been smited, but what else is going to fall out from that? So, mm,
well, his relationship with his child could be involved because his
mm.
Saturn and Neptune are in the fifth house. So if she leaves Washington, does she take? I think they only have one. I could be
I,
wrong.
I
Do not correct me on how many children he has. She would take whatever their progeny is, my guess is. Um,
Also,
the
he's
other,
he's just had a Mars return, literally just had. That's always the start of a big new cycle. And we've seen as we go through that there's a lot of aspects to Mars happening, and it's right at the top of his chart, and that's a change, a new beginning cycle. Hmm.
let's add Jupiter moving into Cancer in his eighth house of shared resources.
Mm,
And that is going to be in a sextile or an opportunity aspect to his sun, and it's going to be opposite his Neptune. So there could be something that really mushrooms out
mm,
about some idealistic thing he did or ideological. I would say this man is ideology driven.
I'd say so, yeah. And, I know we're not highly focused on first quarter moons, but we are heading towards a big full moon. And the first quarter moon is affecting his Uranus because the moon will be in Virgo, so it will square the first quarter or the whatever, you get the idea. It's going to form a T square to his Uranus, which is radical shifts and changes. And it's near his moon, so there's a lot of emotion involved. I think probably he did actually, um, love this woman, or does rather, and was quite surprised to have caught her. Because I don't know if anybody's seen her. She's like, where? Again, there's all these threads going. Like, she obviously has a type, but why? Money maybe. Anyway.
I'll throw one more thing in, and that's taking this a little further out. We have not mentioned the planet Uranus has been traveling through his seventh house, which is the marriage house, the partnership house. And in July, it is going to move into Gemini and it will square his sun. So, open enemies, allies. My guess is that everything could blow up.
Yeah.
His job, his relationship with Trump, his marriage, you name it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of it, his, you know, all this subtweeting and things, I think he's going to give something away personally. You know, we'll see.
Well, with that um, square connecting the house that involves social media and his little psycho beasties coming out. Oh yeah, I bet he does. I bet he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. He's really under a lot of pressure with these aspects. Well, so how do we want to put Musk as well, or because of course he's left anyway the administration the end of this week today.
Uh,
Uh,
just out of curiosity, would you put Musk around Stephen Miller's chart? Because there is a very interesting thing.
play. Oh, recently used. Elon Musk is here. Okay, you go for it.
Huh.
Well, Musk's nodes are right on Miller's MCIC, which is career-wise for Miller is kind of a bit of a karmic connection almost, but all this change is kind of bringing something there. But what else did you say? Oh, Mars approach.
This is
Mars.
not what I saw in my program, so I'm wondering if I entered
Oh,
something wrong.
you
Because I
do.
was seeing, where is Musk's?
Let me turn
Hold
around. No,
on, where's
that's
his
definitely
Mercury?
Musk's chart because that's his ascendant. So what what did you?
Hold on, let me just
Mm,
look. Yeah. June 28, 1971.
hmm.
Um,
Because I know I got the wrong chart once for Musk, but I know this is the
wait
one
a
for the
second.
30.
Okay, Stephen Miller. There is a time of birth for Miller.
Yeah, this is. Oh, I did have it. Oh,
Yeah, so let me give it to you.
oh,
And
yeah.
4:53 p.m.
Why did I?
So we've been working with his solar chart. The information is still valid, but when you put 4:53 p.m. in as the birth time, Musk's Mercury falls on Miller's partnership right there, right on the cusp,
Sorry about
right
that.
on his descendant. Now,
Yeah.
this
Oh
is
yeah.
a so this is a you would think it could be that they understand each other really well. It also, Mercury in Cancer has a potential for taking things really personally or being really, really pissy. Also, this could indicate Musk's communication style really feeding Miller's spouse with,
Mm.
that's the thing I saw. Like, whoa, I
Yeah.
bet.
Sorry about putting the wrong time. Well, I hadn't. I think it reverted when I put his wife's in because I didn't have a time of
Oh,
day.
right. No, but again, we were working with the solar chart, and that
Yeah,
was
we
all. So
were.
all that information
But
is correct.
but I want to add to the fact he's just had his Mars return, as we mentioned, and Musk's Mars is opposing his Mars. And, to talk about the seventh house and eighth house, they're both the marriage houses. This is significant relationships, but this is the deeply bonded relationship. And um, the eighth house, Stephen Forrest calls it kind of the long-term marriage house. It's when you've shared your resources, you've got all that. So both are marriage, but his Mars now we see is on the cusp of his eighth house, and here along comes Musk's Mars facing Miller's Mars, while Miller, sorry, has just had a Mars return. And, that's literally kind of looks like it's apparently breaking up his marriage. So,
These contacts tell me there is a major personal component to this. I mean, who gets up at night and subtweets unless
yeah,
unless
yeah. And it's almost like this could be the thing that kind of breaks him a little bit because, there's Uranus now. We see his Uranus is in, this is really the house of social media and the big, tech things and things like that. I mentioned the first quarter moon hitting that. Oof. And yeah, what other connections do they have? That means that Musk's midheaven is, well, Miller's Pluto is conjunct Musk's midheaven. So these two, all the aspects are affecting each other. So, hmm.
and I will say Miller's going to be doing something radically differently next year with Pluto moving across his midheaven. So
Oh, I
there we go.
I would agree, especially on a Pluto square. Good Lord.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
So this is important. This is not just salacious stuff flying around. There's something very big going on with this. It's going to have repercussions, ramifications,
Hmm.
and my reaction when I got this news, well, the first reaction was one I should be somewhat ashamed of, and then the next one was this is this is a major piece of the Jenga puzzle being pulled out that will lead to collapse.
Yeah, I think so. And I already mentioned that, Musk has spoken out, not in favor of the big, beautiful bill. And we all know Miller is really one of the big architects of all these things. He's really one of the main ones. I think some of it almost, especially with all these Mercury aspects and the Gemini energy going on, has that kind of whistleblower energy, even if you don't
Mm,
intend it, not like a formal whistleblower, but
no.
blurting things, blurting. That's what it's kind of. Yeah, from
Yep,
from
I'm
that
with you.
from that hurt little boy place, because they have these ascendant descendants like almost exactly opposite. If I turn them around, musk Musk is 13, and so Miller's is over here, so they are really kind of coming at each other, shall we say. It's going to be
Mhm.
interesting because I don't think the story's anywhere near finished. I'm not trying to look too far ahead, but in August, Venus and Jupiter and a major fixed star all meet at 14 Cancer. So on Miller's Mercury and all these things. And those two expand everything. So I think we've got a bit of a war going on here between them. Or at least a loggerheads kind of thing. Yeah. So I don't think we need to look at his wife, really, do we?
No.
Okay. The person who will not be named.
Can we put the full moon chart around him?
I'm going to. Oh, yes. Moon opposing the sun. It's right on his lunar nodes and his natal moon. And he was born on an eclipse. And as mentioned when I went through the aspects, this full moon is squaring the lunar nodes, that moon wobble that I talked about. And I actually took Nessus out. So let me just add Nessus in, because I do think this centaur that Melanie Reinhardt says the phrase for it is the buck stops here. And with this being a Grand Cross full moon on square the nodes on the moon wobble between the eclipses, it's just like, and aspecting Centaur Nessus over here in his 7th house, which I always knew was a problem for him right from the start when he was elected, with because Saturn was there and Neptune was there. I knew things were going to start coming back, but Nessus has now moved to 21 degrees, so that's also exactly squaring his full moon and the full moon itself. And so this is, this is in his house of open enemies, to put it one way.
Could I trouble you to draw a line connecting the his nodes, and then draw another line showing the crossbar to the so that people can see the Grand
Oh
Cross
yes,
straight down, straight. No, I
oh
was
yeah.
thinking making
Well,
a
no,
crossbar.
no.
Yeah,
I'll do the
yeah.
whole Grand Cross and the whole square. So
Okay,
that's the
right.
transiting nodes. That are the North Node, which is where we're headed in many ways, is about to meet with Nessus as well after this. So this is huge,
My reason for wanting to do this is this connects his identity, that's the first house,
Mhm,
his home, his roots, his family,
mhm,
all that, that's the fourth house. All of his partnerships and open enemies,
mhm,
that's the seventh house, and his public standing.
mhm,
And this is Ted.
mhm.
Also FETID, but FATED. So these crossbars are connecting the central portions of his chart, his life, his personality.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And this is also the basis of his security, not just,
Right.
yeah, because I think people are starting to realize what a grift this whole thing was with the crypto and the people paying to do stuff, and how much money his wealth has increased under this. It's just wild. Would you like me to quickly move to that Mars Uranus square as well?
One more thing. He's
Mm.
having his Mars return on that day. So this is starting a
Oh,
2-year cycle.
yes,
See,
there is.
Mars
Oh my
would be
God. Yeah, it's 6 minutes away on the full moon. Wow. So yeah, that's so that's Stephen Miller and Donald Trump both under a Mars return, which can be a good new start to a new cycle, but also it is a start to a new cycle. And we have to look
I
at,
would say with this, I'm sorry, I just
oh,
jumped in.
no, 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 go on.
With Nessus and the node, the North Node,
Mm,
coming together in his seventh house of allies and open enemies.
mm.
An ally could turn into an open enemy as a result of this. Okay, so this
I
could open, this could
keep on.
be Musk saying more. An ally turning into an open enemy. I'm sure many of you have seen the really weird video that made its rounds of him in Saudi Arabia with someone showing him photographs and
Mm.
the crown prince just beaming, and the photos do appear to have a much younger of this man and a at least a girl, a younger woman, maybe not even a woman in it. So I would not be surprised if there isn't more to come out about that kind of thing as well as a result of this full moon. And he's kind of like, he can't do anything about it with this Grand Cross. He has to suffer through it somehow.
But all like Stephen Miller, there's a lot of other things aspecting him. I'm not going to go back, but on June the 1st, I've mentioned it many times, Venus, Chiron, Eris, all at 25 degrees, right on the cusp of the ninth house, which is truth and justice in many ways, but it is square to his Venus. It pinged me when you said about these
Mhm.
photographs. Apparently, a younger woman. We all know the stories, about him from the past. Well, if you don't, you can go and look them up. But and there's been accusations that have been made to go away, shall we say? Mm.
Mhm.
But then, as well as right after all of that, and I am going to get this one more exact, the Mars Uranus square. So again, goes back to July of last year when there was the assassination attempt. Not on the exact date, but this is an activator, and there were shocks all that month, to be quite honest. But so this is the day after his parade, as mentioned. Squares, sometimes happen a day or so before. Mars has moved over his Mars and is just a degree away from his birth line, his ascendant, and square the wrecking ball Uranus up in his 10th house. That's rather a shocking.
And the nodes are exactly square his sun at that point. Exactly
Oh,
square
they
by
are.
degree.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the moon, representing the people, has
Oh,
just moved off in opposition to his Pluto, which is backroom deals, power, big money, hidden criminality, you name it. Self-sabotage. Okay, so doing something that ends up causing him a lot of trouble.
and
And
his moon will hit his series. I kind of see that as the general people in the sign of Aquarius, the collective people, saying, people, it's real, like something shocking could come out where people go, he is not meeting our needs, but also it could also be other kind of shocks. I know there's all kind of predictions out about his health, but I'm not going to go there. Um, something shocking. Let's just say something shocking
something
is going to
something
happen.
shocking. Yeah.
Yeah. Incidentally, as well, though, the moon opposing his Pluto, that's Vance's sun as well, isn't it? Right on his Pluto.
I think so. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, yes, it's going to be, well, just, we're only 15th is the actual Mars Uranus square, but, this is all happening just in 2 weeks. This is just going to be a wild 2 weeks. So, whew.
I'll throw out one final thing that's going to be happening around this time. On June 14th, there is an alternative event. The
Mm,
Pope will be live streaming a mass into Chicago at
really?
the same time as I think it's going to be at Comiskey Park. Anyway, the Pope is live streaming a mass into Chicago at
I
the same time as the parade
I have to tell
schedule.
you, I love this Pope. No, I'm not a religious person. I'm not, I don't love organized religion, but so far I love this Pope. And he's gonna,
He's the 21st century Pope.
oh, he is. You thought Francis was a change? You've seen
Mm-mm.
nothing yet. But anyway. So, as usual, it's going to feel chaotic, especially with all this mutable Gemini fire and air energy. It feels like everything's coming at you. Yeah, like Kathy suggested, I think it's really good to go, oh, yeah, that date something would happen. I think it's good to be aware of what's happening in the news without letting it drag you down and sink into it. There's also somebody on Facebook I follow called Zan something or other, Zanzi something or other. She does lists of all the good news that's happening. I love going to her threads because the good news is always there. Because there are a lot of good things happening. So, but do your self care, look after yourselves. The energy is really heightened, really chaotic. And having a full moon on my sun is already feeling a bit, oh. But it's good. It's all good. I'm publishing a book. So there you go. So, Kathy, any final words?
Yes, I have new final words. I've started saying this week. Live as if the outcome that you have been waiting for is on its way. And I encourage you to actually think of what you will do to celebrate. And I have two specific things already planned. One of them is for the moment when enough pieces of the Jenga puzzle are pulled out that it is obvious what is going on. And I don't think we're too far away from that. And then the other is down a little bit down the line. So um,
But
I know what it. Hmm?
I've done a lot of kind of future visioning, law of attraction work, whatever you want to call it as well. You could also actually do the celebration if you feel a bit down right now, as if it's already happened.
That's right. But I've got, and both of mine involve plans with other people, and we have made the plans.
Oh,
Made the plans. I will have a bottle of champagne in my refrigerator, and I will hit the road. I will text the person who lives near me, hit the road, go to her house. She says she's going to get a confetti cannon or two. And then
I know who that is.
you know who that is, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
then the other one is a little, it's a little more of a distance, but I'm traveling for both. I traveled for the big celebration last time. I was in New York City when the election was called for Biden with a bunch of actors are having a picnic, and we didn't know it was going to be the day that it would be. And all these strangers walking around with looks on their faces like, is it really here? Oh my God. So I've experienced it. You've experienced it. Please, please
mm,
think now of what you're going to do. Just play with it. Live as if.
yeah, I'm a big fan of that because we are co-creators, I do believe, and it's how we approach it and respond to everything. So if you think it's going to be terrible, you might be right. And if you think it's going to be super and you're going to celebrate, you also could be right. So, so well, goodbye from both of us for this time. Oh, I do want to mention, by the way, will we be here next week? But I am traveling to England from the 18th of June to the end of the month, and I can't possibly fit in pre-recording. And these kind of things are so news dependent, and I cannot record from England. So we will be taking a break. I know you guys love them, but visiting family and all that jazz. So I'm warning you now. Bye.
Bye.